I'm a geologist. Climate change is a fact. And I've been talking about it since 1979. Humans are not causing it. The studies clearly show the humans are not causing it.
We contribute to it a little bit, though.
You go back and the relation
not enough to like raise the sea levels, but we can. I think it's known that humans do contribute a little bit to climate change, right?
Okay, so what you're saying is that carbon dioxide is contributing to climate change, and that is the problem. You go back and you look at the ice cores, and what you're going to see two things.
Yes.
There is when we look at the Vostok ice cores and they show the relationship between carbon dioxide and the warming of the Earth. Mm-hmm. What we find is the Earth warms first, and then the carbon dioxide levels rise after that. If the Earth warms first, the carbon dioxide cannot be the cause of the Earth warming.
Really?
Yep. Number one. Number two, you go back and
how do they determine that the Earth is warming by looking at the ice cores?
You can look let's talk about ice cores.
Yeah.
So ice cores, every year there's a new, and I apologize, I made an assumption that's common knowledge because in some circles it is. Mm-hmm.
About what part?
Ice cores.
Oh, yeah.
Every year.
No, I've talked a lot about ice cores on the show.
Every year there's a new layer of ice that is deposited on the ice caps, Antarctica, at the South Pole and Greenland,
right,
and the North Pole. Mm-hmm. And when that ice forms, Danny, it captures little pockets of air.
Yes.
And from that air in the ice, and it's preserved, another layer, another layer, another layer. Right now, the deepest layers of the ice cores, to the best of my knowledge, they're called Vostok, V-O-S-T-O-K, and they go back over Vostok Lake, a Russian named lake under the ice. They go back about 420,000 years. Okay, so drill down, and you can see every year what was happening those 420,000 years. So what does it tell you? It tells you the temperature of the Earth. It tells you how much methane was in the atmosphere, how much CO2 was in the atmosphere. It will tell you, and it'll tell you about the magnetic strength of the planet. And if you want to get into details of, the way they can do that, there are gas bubbles that are captured. There are sea life. There's certain forms of sea life called Globigerina that their shells will actually, in the sea cores, the shells will grow clockwise or counterclockwise, depending upon the temperature of the water. There's all kinds of stuff.
There's even like metals and stuff that can be deposited in there. This is something that Flint was talking about.
Yeah, you can tell the metals. You can tell about the magnetic strength of the Earth. You can tell how strong the sun, all of those things. So the ice cores are showing us a couple of things. First, they're showing that the temperatures rise, and I'll share with you why.
But when you say the Earth, do you mean the ground?
I'm talking about our planet.
Or are you talking about the atmosphere?
I'm talking about our planet.
But are you talking about specifically, like what I'm saying is, are you talking about, like you're saying that the Earth was warm? Are you talking about just the entire Earth, including the atmosphere?
Well, this is atmospheric temperatures.
Atmosphere, okay, got it.
That we're talking about. And what you will find, first of all, the temperatures rise. This is called the inconvenient data because it doesn't support the narrative.
Right.
Temperatures rise first. There's a lag, and then the CO2 levels will rise. All right, and you can see that very clearly. Now you go back beyond that 420,000. Now let's go back in geologic time. Is CO2 today high? Absolutely. Is it higher than it was 10 years ago? Absolutely. Is it higher than it was 100 years ago? Absolutely. Is that a bad thing?
Right.
Not necessarily.
I agree totally. And if you look at the cosmics, if you look at the long scale, and even if you look at graphs of of CO2 levels and the atmospheric temperatures, even over the last 20,000 years, it is a roller coaster.
Well, here's the thing. You can have high levels of CO2 and the temperatures are low. You can have low levels of CO2 and the temperatures are high. They're not necessarily correlated.
Right. Okay.
Now, is this the most CO2 that the planet has ever had? Absolutely not. Right now, I think we're in, 440 parts per million, I think is somewhere.
That sounds about right.
Steve, would you check and see? I think it's 440 parts per million.
Yeah. And then maybe find like a graph, like a historical graph of
so 440 parts per million.
Yeah.
What is it
you're
today?
spot on. 440 parts per million of levels of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere today.
Yeah. Okay. So is that higher than it was 10 years, 15, 20, yes. But here's the thing. You go back into geologic period, the Jurassic, the Cretaceous.
Right.
We had 1,000 parts per million, and Earth was green and lush, and life was thriving. 2,000 parts per million, Earth was green and lush. It's high CO2 is not a death sentence for the planet, but here's what is. Low CO2. If we drop below 180 parts per million, it's a death sentence for this planet. Now, let's do a little experiment. Let's do a thought experiment. I did this in January of 23.
You start planting more trees.
No, as a geologist, I said, okay, let's look at the proposed CO2 limits. Let's look at the proposed CO2 limits right now. If we were to meet all these limits, what would the Earth look like? All right, they are proposing a reduction from 2010, and I think they want about a 45% reduction. It brings us down to about 220 parts per million. All right, 182 is considered a death sentence for our planet. When we reach that level, the forests begin to die.
Right.
All right, and the temperatures are colder, and the ice is greater in the northern hemisphere. So CO2 is not like a little dial where you can like click it and say, well, we need to bump it up or bump it down. The level that they're pushing for is only 35 to 36 parts per million away from a really, really bad level for Earth. So I did an experiment. When was the last time Earth was at 220 parts per million CO2? Last time we saw that was a geologic time called the Pleistocene.
Last ice age?
All right, Pleistocene, low CO2, the forest died. They want to push our temperatures back. We're an average right now, I think 59 degrees Fahrenheit is a global average, give or take.
Right now?
Right now, global average.
Oh, wow.
And they want to push us back to about 46 degrees, global average. If we make this planet, geologically like the Pleistocene, it's not good for us.
Right.
It's not good for humans. Would you agree with that?
No, I totally agree with that.
Okay, so let's put that aside. Now, look at what's happening on this week. What is happening is the major powers of the earth are being provoked to destroy one another. They're being provoked to create war, to deplete weapons resources, to deplete munitions, to deplete human power, to deplete entire populations. War is not good for us. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that.
Okay, and you put that there. Now, look at what's happening socially. This is evil, climatic evil. This is evil. Conflict, war is evil.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, now
especially thermonuclear war.
Now you look at what is happening. There's a concerted effort to break the social bonds that have always held societies together.